Aria blinked as she turned to Officer Keith, who still stood waiting for her final decision. She nodded at him. "My team and I will go in first. Your snipers would remain with us, and whenever the military shows up, you can ask them to join us." He looked at her, concern and uncertainty lacing his weary eyes. "Are you sure about this? This is the farthest we've ever gotten to getting those murderers. I'm not just going to sit around and wait for anyone to come and ruin this. The entire world is counting on us." "Were you able to find their motive?" Yes. We believe that they're in search of a Dr. Elias. Our drone recorded the criminals having a conversation about him. Apparently, they want him to continue his experiments and help expand their deviant army." "And have they got any luck in finding him?" He shook his head. Dr. Elias went completely off the radar after the escape. It was almost as if he was prepared for this." Aria sucked her teeth. Of course he was. The metal doors Aria had walked through earlier slid open again, the mechanical whirring of the doors calling the attention of both of them. Aria turned to see her team standing at the other side of the door, inside the tube-like lift. Each of them straddled a duffel bag. Aria smiled warmly as she walked over to them. They were the only ones she would ever trust with her life, and they were professionals.
"Good morning, Commander. You're looking dashing today,"
Philly chirped, sarcasm trailing his bemused voice. "We've got eyes on the targets, snipers locked in, and incoming military support." The four of them nodded, impressed by the odds.
"So, I'm assuming we're waiting for the military to get here?"
Aria shook her head slowly before leading them back to Officer Keith, who stood at a distance watching them. They introduced themselves briefly before turning to Aria. "Officer Keith is already finding it hard to convince people to hold their grudges back and allow this mission to go smoothly, and now we're afraid it might be worse once the military gets here." They all nodded, understanding and consideration mingling in their eyes. Aria continued to pass on all the information that she had as quickly as they could, and finally, they agreed to launch the attack. "Alright guys, we don't have any time yet. It's been approximately 16 hours since the Bluefly was last sighted, which gives them about 8 to 6 hours to charge fully. It won't be easy, but we're not going to give up." The rest of her team cheered in support as they began to gear up, strapping on bulletproof vests and holsters, checking mags and attachments as they slid different kinds of weapons into designated pouches around their bodies. Officer Keith walked in with a small burner phone in his hand. "I've got the governor on the line for you, Commander." Aria dusted off her vest as she walked to Keith and took the phone from his hand before bringing it slowly to her ear. "Good evening, sir."
"Good evening, Commander Aria. I'm just going through your file, and I must say, it's an honor to have you here working with us. These deviants have done so much destruction to this city, and they won't stop here. An era of death and fear looms near, and we're counting on you and your team to stop it."
"We would try our best, sir, or die trying."
"I've sent the military to you. I'll send the Navy too, if you give me a go-ahead. And I've placed them all under your command. You have my full support. Just do whatever you can to save us. Please."
Aria paused. She could hear the desperation in the governor's voice, laced with an almost unnoticeable pang of hatred. She wondered what the deviant, from the pain in his voice, she could tell he wasn't just worried about politics and his city's economy. He was worried that others would have to face whatever he and several others have faced if we do not stop the deviants. I felt my resolve strengthen in an instant. "I won't fail you, sir.